playfulness and curiosity.
This new superpower called persuasion.
They're the rules of the world, and then here's the rules for us.
What does rich mean?
Stories and wisdom.
Welcome to the Stories and Wisdom podcast. I'm Pradeep U.N, CEO for Stories and Wisdom. Today we are joined by Maggie Miller, president of the Stevie Awards, one of the most globally recognized honors in business. Maggie leads a global ecosystem that celebrates leadership, innovation, and impact across industries, cultures, and company sizes. Maggie, welcome to the Stories and Wisdom podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me today. It was great to meet you at the American Business Awards ceremony.
So to start us off, and for people who don't know the full scope of what you do, how would you describe the mission of the Stevie Awards and your role in it?
The Stevie Awards is one of the only all-encompassing business awards organizations around the world. We've been around for 23 years now. Back in 2002, we started our first business awards program, the American Business Awards. And now we run 9 business awards competitions each year. Each focuses on its own either industry sector or area of the world. So, I met you at the American Business Awards, but we have programs that focus on technology, HR, women in business. We have an Asia Pacific program. So we really try to offer awards categories for every type of business, whether large or small, for-profit, nonprofit. We believe professionals and organizations of all types and sizes deserve to be recognized. Before we started, I think, there's a lot of the Fortune 500 awards, EY awards that were only for larger organizations. So we're proud to give smaller organizations or nonprofits, kind of an equal chance to be given external validation for the hard work they do day in and day out.
Yeah, I mean, I can actually resonate with that. I used to work at Microsoft and we've applied to those awards. So that was a whole world I thought I would miss when it came to doing the startup world. It feels like we matter a little bit more as well. When as a startup, you get there and then you do all the hard work, you get some traction, and then you have some level of recognition from industry peers to state that. So thank you for what you do.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
So at the podcast, we have 4 segments. The first segment is called Memoir Moment. Looking back, what's a story that feels like the beginning of the work that you are doing today?
So I joined the Stevie Awards in 2013, and back then it was just the founder of the Stevie Awards, Michael Gallagher, and we had a web manager. So I was the third hire, and now, 12 years later, almost, we're up to 16 full-time employees, and we have contractors all over the world. So to me, what, made me think about my past and, what kind of shaped me as a leader was probably my first time hiring an employee. I really had to dig deep. What does the Stevie Awards need to be able to grow, to be able to offer better awards competitions every year, better categories, better management for our entrants and our winners. So that was a big step to me. And it's great because a lot of our employees have stayed with us for 10 years, 5 years, which I think in this day and age is kind of rare. So that was a big thing to me. And I really do enjoy hiring and training and growing our small business.
Yeah, you grew up your career around the Stevie Awards itself. How do you see that shaping your leadership and recognition? And then also the fact that we've been expanding. So what you're doing to the industry, and then how's that helping you chart your career journey?
Yeah, I have been at the Stevie Awards almost my entire professional career. So I feel like I may not have as much external experience as others, but I do consider myself a pretty good listener and a pretty empathetic person. So I would hope my employees would say that makes me a good, leader, manager. I'm definitely the type to listen before I speak. Just trying to keep up with current trends, how we can make each competition the best it can be. Right now, we're in the process of totally revamping our websites. We're so happy to get new websites done, but things like that, just making sure everything is in the proper place for our entrants, but also making sure everything is great on the back end for our employees. We have 3 people that work on judging full time, someone who reads every single nomination that comes in. So it's really just a well-oiled machine That's also a small business. So as far as leadership, I feel like I get kind of into the day to day because we're a small organization. I'm still reviewing press releases. I'm talking with all of our employees on the daily. I'm not a president of Fortune 500 companies, so I'm still like in the grind. Sometimes I get bogged down with that, but then when annual review time comes along and I don't necessarily have to fill out the self-evaluation, I do take a look back and say, what could I do better as a leader and where are we going to go in the future? So it's probably something I need to be better about and just get out of that daily grind too.
I mean, you do speak like running a small business, and you mentioned it's 15 people. But then I do know that the ecosystem that you touch is much larger. Like every award, you're bringing in judges from around the world and then managing them. And that's a few hundred if I
Yes.
oh, per. And then you already mentioned you have what, 8 or 10 programs around that. So that's a huge organization that's actually working throughout the year.
Yes, definitely. I think a lot of people assume we're a larger organization just because of the scale. Only one of our awards programs is US based, the rest are international. So we're wearing many hats every day. We're dealing with people from a lot of different cultures who have different preferences and even, different way to pay invoices and things like that. So yes, it's a huge scale and it's great to meet and interact with people from all over the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is a good transition for our next segment, which is called Decision Do-Over. In hindsight, is there any decision that you made that you'd want to approach differently given the chance? And this is your decision do-over chance.
Yeah, I was thinking about this question, and I guess I will share a somewhat vulnerable answer, but we started our German Stevie Awards program about 12 years ago now, and it really just hasn't taken off the way that we hoped it would. Germany has a really strong economy in Europe, so that's kind of how we got the idea for it. I think maybe in the US, we think it's fine to just enter our email address to get email updates and request an entry kit, for example, but in Germany, they're very private about their email address, so we just really had a hard time reaching German organizations. So we've had a hard time growing it. We've had contractors helping us there, trying to reach the German market, and it really just hasn't taken off as well as our other programs. So we're kind of trying to decide, is it worth keeping? Do the German people even want these type of business awards? Should we roll it into our international business awards program? So I would say that's one of the decisions where it's been a bit of a challenge. But for our German winners who do enter every year, they would like us to keep it going. So it's still kind of an up in the air situation.
I mean, having experienced this one, like the privacy laws in EU are stricter, but the privacy laws in Germany are even more stricter, even within the context of EU.
Yes, we have learned that with running ads in Germany. Yeah.
The stories that these companies are sharing with you and then the information that they're sharing with you might not always be public. And then when he's bringing in these kind of privacy laws in place, and where you're storing the data, and it's probably not going to be in a server in Germany, suddenly changes the way they would apply or not apply, and then the permissions they have to get or not get, because they might just not even bother going through all that rigmarole on their end, is what I can see it happen. Because I worked in that space. We tried to get stories from different parts of the country, and Germany has stricter privacy laws, would be an
Okay.
understatement.
So you've noticed there's a little bit of a resistance as well. Okay.
Yes.
And also Europe has a lot more niche business awards for, advertising, public relations. And in the US, we don't have as many options. So I think that's another hurdle as well.
So when you think through these kind of, I'll use the word experiment, but I'm using the word experiment loosely as you're exploring new ventures, then how do you think about course correction or even mistakes and then saying, am I going to change the product or am I going to switch somewhere else? How do you go about making those kind of decisions and ideas?
I mean, recently it's been a lot of trial and error, but also the founder of the Stevie Awards, Michael Gallagher, he still has a really big hand in every major decision we make. So I work closely with him. And since he's the founder, really his say still goes for huge decisions like that. So kind of just going back and forth with him, is all the effort we're putting into the German Stevie Awards worth it when we could be putting more effort into, our newest awards program, the Stevie Awards for Technology Excellence, which, we've already doubled the amount of entries since last year and we're only in its second year. So we see the demand is there already and it's only 2 years old versus this program we've been trying so hard for 10 years. So We've kind of just been doing trial and error, but we decided to move the German Stevie Awards ceremony into a combined ceremony with the International Business Awards. So, kind of just making decisions that make it easier for those who do want to continue to enter to still come to the ceremony. But ceremonies are a lot of time, money, and effort for us to put on. So, 40 people want to come. It's not worth our time and money to do it. But if we can combine, then yes, it's obviously worth it.
Yeah, totally. Having been to some of your award ceremonies, like it feels like a community when you're supporting each other's, and then the networking that we get from all of those definitely feels that way. So if it's a lesser number of people, I think it would impact. So I totally hear you there.
Yeah, it doesn't feel the same. Yeah. And if you're in a room of 500 of your peers, it's a different feeling.
Totally. And also entering a new market, the market might want to see some traction or some history, but if you're entering upfront, how are they going to see all of that? So it is a
Yeah.
hard one on your end.
Yeah. I'm slightly relieved to hear you've had similar experiences in that region.
It is part of the learning journey, isn't it?
Learning curve. Yes.
Okay, so our next segment is an exciting one where we actually look forward into our vision venture. So looking forward, what's your next venture or career adventure? And is it exciting or is it scary?
Kind of like I mentioned earlier, I'm really just focused on the day to day and how I can make sure each program is running as smoothly as possible. And our new website is kind of like taken over our lives because we're at the final stages, but really just keeping up with industry trends to make each of our award competitions, as relevant and desirable so people can be awarded for the things that they actually want to be recognized for. Every year we take a look at the trends and say, what categories should we add? What categories didn't get any entries last year? Should we remove them? So really just optimizing our programs and like I mentioned, just making sure our employees are happy and able to do their work and, feel creative and inspired and that they're in a nice work environment. So yeah, nothing crazy on my mind right now, but just really trying to get the website done and make sure all of our programs are optimized.
Given that we've seen a lot of change, at least in the US in the last 4, 5 months, 6 months now. And then there's the technology landscape that's also changing. So with that kind of a changing landscape and your annual kind of a cadence, how do you come up with new categories? Can you talk us through that when you're looking outwards?
Yeah, usually a month or two before the next edition of the program opens, we kind of, get down into the nitty gritty. And we also contact all of our international representatives around the world and ask them, like, hey, do you have any suggestions for categories based on your part of the world? What's the interest looking like? So a lot of our international representatives will send in recommendations and kind of pre AI we would have to do this all on our own, but now with AI we can say, hey, what are the trends, what are people looking for, what's blowing up right now? So that's actually been really helpful for finding new award categories to add. And then just looking at the past year, if you take a look at the winners list on our website, you'll see some categories have 5 to 10 winners and some categories have 1. So sometimes people don't enter categories at all, and if that happens for 2 years in a row, we'll just likely remove it. But really just looking at trends. And oftentimes winners from a few years ago will email us and say, hey, I think you should have a category for LinkedIn on your social media categories tab. And I'm like, yeah, you're definitely right. I don't know why we're missing that. So really, we take input from everybody and we don't always add them just based on recommendation, but if it's good, we do add it.
Great. You're taking your customer feedback, you're looking at market trends, you're looking at data. It sounds classic ways to actually create new product and work. And you're looking forward to probably expansions as well. And our next segment is called Puzzle Points. What's a challenge or question you're currently sitting with? Something that doesn't have a clear answer, and how you're thinking about it?
Well, I guess the first one I'll say back to the website. This will be a more boring answer, but our website is currently so old. It's really hard for us to track analytics for, who's coming to our site organically. We use HubSpot as our CRM. So, we'll share landing pages and that we get great analytics from, but just our website, it's really hard to track every month, what are people interested in? What competition are they even clicking on the most? So once our new site is up, I think we'll just have a much clearer picture into what potential entrants are looking for, what existing winners are looking for on our website. knowing what people want to be recognized for and how often they're coming to their site. Can they use our portal to submit nominations easily? Is so crucial. So I mentioned it 100 times, but I'm really excited for the new website. And then also just with the kind of state of the world, I think a lot of people are worried about the economy and, what's happening overseas. Are people even interested in entering business awards right now? There's, so much craziness. A lot of people have been let go from their jobs, from the government. So just trying to make entering as easy as possible for those who do continue to want to win Stevie Award, but also just keeping in mind, there are a lot of hardships going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the website a few times and then the new website as well. Given the technology landscape, the obvious question is around AI. How are you looking forward to doing that in the context of your website? Anything that you're trying to solve that puzzle for?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of a tricky landscape because for our entrants or potential entrants, AI does make it a lot easier to write up a nice nomination. It's really, or word limits for each of our nominations, or if you want to submit a video, it's just up to 5 minutes. So it's really hard for entrants to, compile a nice nomination that lists everything they want to say, kind of with a nice story. Storytelling is important. So with AI, that can make it a lot easier. But also with AI, when you're feeding it proprietary information, you're kind of giving away that information, unless you have your own AI tool. So we're kind of in a middle place with AI, like for your entrance, feel free to use it, but the judges will probably know you've used it because it doesn't necessarily have a superhuman voice and you might be giving away company secrets. So just keep it in mind before you use it. But for our judges, we've had to add to our terms and conditions like, no, you cannot use AI in any way, shape, or form because you've signed an agreement that you're not going to share any of the nominations that you've read. And if you decide to paste that into a tool, you are sharing it. So judges, fully banned entrants, we've had to give a little bit of a warning. And within our website, we were thinking, if we could implement some AI tool that would make it easier for entrants to just kind of have AI help them rewrite right in their website, that would be nice. But I don't know if that's going to be in the first version of our website.
Yeah, the aspect around giving the data to something that you don't own in the cloud, especially in the space of innovation, is a tricky thing to navigate for your end. So I can see why it is something that you'd want to be more, risk averse on because you want to make sure that the applicants who are submitting all the data are.
Yeah, and from our end, from the judge's end, we're not going to know, but maybe your boss would be upset if you, submitted proprietary information. So we're like, just don't do it.
Totally. So that concludes that segment. Our next segment is called Game Break. Okay, first one, spotlight or backstage?
Spotlight, even though I feel like I'm a little bit of an introvert, so that's not always my first inclination, but working for the Stevie Awards and seeing what external validation can do for you, I have to say spotlight.
Makes sense. Okay,
Mhm.
second one, legacy or innovation?
Innovation,
Innovation. First draft or final polish?
final polish.
Why?
Well, usually your first draft doesn't have all of your ideas included, and usually you'd have, a few people you respect read over your first draft to give you feedback. So I think the final draft would reflect more of what you, want to share with the world.
Got it. Okay, another one, solo focus time or all day judging panel?
Oh, wow. I'm more of a solo focused person. I have like a smaller social battery if it was a group judging session.
I would go there myself as well. Last one is personal story or hard data?
Personal story. I'm sure you would agree, but we really encourage entrants to focus on storytelling when they submit their Stevie Awards nominations because, our judges are experts in their field, but they're not an expert on your organization. They're not necessarily an expert on whatever jargon you're going to share. So really just telling a story that anyone could understand, even if they weren't an expert, that's really the key to getting a high score within the Stevie Awards.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I lean in on personal story, but my role has me explore a lot more on the data side. But eventually, it's the personal story that starts to have you lean further along. But that's just my personal bias.
Yeah, resonate with others.
So before we wrap, Maggie, thank you for bringing your insight, warmth, and story to this space today. Where can listeners find you or follow you on what's next for Stevie Awards?
Yeah, thank you so much. Please find us at stevieawards.com. As I mentioned, our new website will be ready, so you'll be able to find information on all 9 business awards competitions there. And if you'd like to connect with me personally, I'm on LinkedIn as Maggie Miller.
Excellent. Thank you. And I know you also have a Twitter account for the Stevie Awards.
Yes, yeah, thank you for plugging that. We do have every every social media channel and a YouTube channel. So yeah, the Stevie Awards on all of those. We also have pages for our Middle East and North Africa program, our Asia Pacific Stevies, and our German Stevies program.
Yep. And on the YouTube channel, I have seen a lot of award winners sharing their stories and how it is for them to win awards at the Stevie Awards. So it is I would say, like, well-watched YouTube channel, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah, we do share all of the winning acceptance speeches for winners who attend the ceremonies. And then we also have a red carpet area where winners can go share a few minutes worth of interview questions. So those are fun to watch as well.
Brilliant. And once again, thank you for your time and energy for being on the Stories and Wisdom podcast, Maggie.
Yeah, thank you so much. And congratulations on your Stevie Awards.
Playfulness and curiosity.
This new superpower called
They're
persuasion.
the rules of the world, and then here's the rules for us.
Real deep pain.
That was a very different level of inequity.
What does rich mean?